I will ask for a motion to approve the August 17th meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will second it.
Perfect. And with that, we'll move on to the next item. So items from citizens present not on the agenda. Yeah. And we'll probably ask you to move to one of the spots that have a
Got
microphone.
a
Yeah.
microphone. Yeah, you don't have to stand up. You can move to that table. There's a microphone there.
Yeah, I'm just here representing Colorado Ash. Chris Well.
You hit the little button.
Casey Criswell representing Colorado Ash.
Anything else? Items from citizens present not on the agenda.
You're on the agenda.
Well, I don't really have an item. I'm really just here to.
Okay, great. Present.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely. So with that, we'll move on to our action items. So first one up is
No,
Oh.
I'm an item not on the agenda.
yes, okay.
Oh,
then-
okay.
Yeah.
Then
Do you want to?
you,
have my-
you could take, excuse me,
Yeah, we'll have
Dan?
you come to the microphone, just introduce yourself and then address your item.
as Chris was.
My
One
apologies.
place,
I was
Carrie,
racing to try to get here.
You can sit down.
Carrie,
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Carrie.
Make yourself comfortable.
Dan, Carrie
I
and
don't
Dan,
even know
just
if
a
I
point
can
of
sit down.
order.
I've been painting. I'm like,
Excuse me,
so
just a
wired to
point
try
of
to get
order.
here on time. Hey, so I'm Patty Lecht and I live here in Carbondale, and I'm hoping to be of assistance to you folks because I realize how much trees mean to you and that there's 400 trees, I guess, in jeopardy of being taken down if by chance they are found to be infected with that particular boar ash disease or whatever it might be. And
So-
pardon?
So Carl can address this to you.
Good.
And also
Carrie?
the trees at River Valley Ranch are out of the town's control.
Gotcha.
Okay, so
And-
that part of it, really, the trees that Carl is going to be concentrating on are there's about 158, 57 trees outside of River Valley Ranch. So Carl can really address that.
Excuse me, Dan, Carl, Carrie, just a point of order here. We did have another person join us, Samuel. He joined us prior to the citizen.
Lisa,
Yes,
he is the prospective member application.
I see. Okay, thank
So
you. I
he's
didn't
on the
know that.
agenda.
So-
Okay, thank you.
And so what I'll do is just simply make the offering to let you know that I would like to make certain I give you my information so that let's say you need to have somebody who goes around observing the trees. You might tour me around and say, these are these trees and can you watch them? Because maybe if we can wait as long as we possibly can before having to destroy them, we might be able to remedy and assist them and fortify them without having to remove them. And so my objective for coming here is just to want to offer my services for being a tree lover and knowing that you folks are as well, just to say, hey, if I can please help, I would so want to do that because as many trees as we could possibly salvage, so much the better. And that's my wish. And so I don't know very much and I will learn from you folks.
I love that.
So Carl's got that information on.
Yeah, so if you get on Co-Tree View, it's an online inventory. You can see what trees that I've selected to treat.
I better write that down.
Yeah, and I can give you, more information. We can, talk more later. And I have a specific criteria through the management plan and I'm using to assess trees, whether we treat them or not. And EAB, it's so aggressive that if we don't treat trees, we have to remove them because they will die from EAB eventually. And there's areas where we have more dense pockets of ash, such as like the Plaza area, kind of Keeter Grove, and RVR has a lot in the public right of way where it's really dense.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a specific plan in RVR so that, we're going to treat a certain amount next spring, hopefully. And then we'll start removing some, but we'll try to phase it out. So we remove some and then we'll start replanting as well. But the reality is we can't treat all the trees. That's just the reality of, this pest.
And I wonder if we may possibly wait as long as we possibly could to remove the trees versus preemptively taking them. I see everyone shaking their head no. And you see, I don't know anything about it, and it's just a wish. Yeah.
From observations that we know the trees that the treatment plan that Carl has proposed is an injection plan. And we need trees to probably be not less than 6 inches in diameter. Anything smaller is going to have to be removed. The
Just because they
trees
can't
will
make it.
eventually be replaced with something else,
As Carl said.
but that is probably going to be over. That's probably going to be a 10-year project. So, that's what Carl's looking at and trying to evaluate at, and that we know that this bug is going to become endemic. It is endemic now. It's not going away. And there really is, even the treatment plan that the town is concentrating on, for other reasons, those trees could just go away anyway. We lose about a year. Any other, just say average any other trees. 10 trees a
Something like
year
that.
or something like that,
Yeah.
Car hits it, the kid peels the bark off. Homeowner doesn't like it, doesn't like the tree, and they're right away in front of their house. So they put battery acid on the tree. There's all kinds of things, but or the tree just fails for some reason, doesn't get enough water. So we know that we have some stuff like that. This is really an exceptional problem, and I do want to state again, and Carl can explain to you, River Valley Ranch is a totally separate case. Even though the town trees are town trees in their public right of way, they do all the maintenance and care of their trees.
Yeah, they pay for it.
They pay for it. Their homeowners association dues pay for that. So the town does have some say, but they also realize, in their public right of way, they have about 100.
It's like about 200, I think.
I think it's a little.
Yeah. I have it. I can look it up
But
exactly
in their-
here, but
In their common areas, they have about 300 trees. And the town has no say on those trees because that's considered private property. And that's gonna be their big problem.
Their burden, yeah.
Well, because of cost for treatment and that, so.
Rather than keeping you, I realize you're.
Oh, no, it's okay. No, it's
But-
okay.
But I'll do is give you my number.
Yeah,
and
give it
then-
to Carl.
And then I'll be your boots on the ground. So you guys say, hey,
Oh, yeah, well, Well, great, because we are going to be we're going to be talking about some things later in the meeting where we're going to be contacting homeowners about trees that are on their private property, other places in town. And that with some door hangers and stuff like that. So we can get together with you and you would be a big help to us.
I would be very happy to do that.
Okay.
A physical tree hugger. Thank you, thank
Hey,
you, thank you
thanks.
for letting me jump in 2 minutes.
Oh, no, that's quite all right.
What was the
Thanks.
name of that website real quick?
Cotree View,
You,
Oh, you're writing it down.
yeah,
it's,
.com.
so the state subsidizes this inventory program for us.
Yeah.
And the town uses it, and anyone can get on there and see all the trees of the town, the town inventory of trees. Now, they're not all updated, and that's a big project I'll be working on in the future, but all the ash have been updated.
Is it .org?
.com.
Uh,
No,
That-
dot,
let me give you
here, wait a minute.
exactly.
All right,
No, it's,
All right.
all right, the right one down
Yeah, we can just write it down there.
Something like that,
Yeah,
maybe
great.
.com, I don't know, it might be .gov.
Thank you, baby.
yeah, it's CO, it's CO.
Oh,
If you just look up Cotree View,
okay,
you'll find it.
here, let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that. I won't keep you now because I know you have things on the agenda and I just wanted to jump in.
Oh,
just
no
to-
problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
So- Yeah, that, and that site, you can go in and you can click and turn off. So if you wanted to just look at oak trees, you could go down and find oak under the town of Carbondale and click oak, and it would just show the oak trees that are in town.
And
It
so it does the same for ash.
For
does
ash.
the same for ash.
And just disclaimer, that ash is the only species that's up to date, because other stuff's kind of from 2010. So it's not completely up to date, just,
Yeah. And yeah,
and we'll be working on that.
yeah,
in the
we're gonna be
future.
talking about that too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Joanne has just joined us,
Yes,
stuck in traffic.
don't give a lot of hope for the trees above projects. And coming back from election school.
All right, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. So we have Prospective member application. We have the application of Samuel Martinez, who's with us virtually.
Hi there.
So if you guys have the application attachment for review.
Hi, Sam, just tell us a little bit about yourself while we kind of read through that.
My name is Sam Martinez. I'm a certified arborist. I'm also certified in tree risk assessment track qualification, certified in pest and disease management and treatment. I am an active member in the Arborist Association. I contribute through the climbing competitions, being an in-tree aerial rescue technician, while also donating my equipment for cleaning up the parks to encourage the next generation of climbers to be safe and have fun in this community. I'm also building a program for sponsorship and membership to help young adults and people involved in the green industry to be able to help them get their certification and put them together with a mentor that can help them excel through life with nothing to gain to the mentor, but just being a good mentor. So I care about trees. I care about the next generation of arborists coming, and I think actions show.
Just a logistical question, looking at the application. I know you're applying as an individual, but when describing your special knowledge, abilities, et cetera, you say we. I just was curious, kind of, who is the representing we? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
When
So, because we feel that our proficiency is well positioned to make a meaningful impact. Just to be clear, since you're kind of applying as an individual,
yes.
but you're speaking as if you're part of a group that's applying.
When I say we, maybe I'm using it as the royal we.
Yeah, okay.
And also it's also with me, I come with a group of arborists that I've put together on my team. From being so involved in the Arborist Association, I have made a companies and group of solid, experienced arborists. Someone that's helping me with our arborist situation, they have a 77-page thesis on the emerald ash borer. I come with a team of people involved in this and experienced in this. And so I guess I am applying as me, Sam Martinez, but I think that it's an important fact to bring up that I also come with a team of certified arborists.
But I would say we already have an arborist in our town. Just let me make a quick statement, because you are the owner of Colorado Ash, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I see a little problem here. We already have an arborist. We're not looking for a team of arborists to be on the tree board. We're looking for a member who is an advisory. We're an advisory group to the Board of Trustees.
Understood.
And so
I think
it would seem that you know, that we would be in a little funny position here with someone who may be doing business with the town of Carbondale or in the town of Carbondale, that our Public Works Department would be involved with, but would also be on an advisory board to our Board of Trustees. It would, I think we would run into some problems with some recusal of speaking and contributing on any decision, any advisory decisions that we would give to the Board of Trustees. And that's just my statement on that.
Conflicts of interest, yeah.
I have a comment on that. We have in the past had up to 2 arborists, professional arborists doing business in our town in the past. I think it's a good thing to have an arborist to present a point of view, but I am concerned with the we. And if we do have things that are specific, such as we spoke about when we were meeting with the trustees for the 2 meetings in September about putting a list together for who's doing business in the town, specifically relating to emerald ash borer, that could represent a conflict of interest, but that ain't the only thing we're looking at around here. So I have no problem with having an arborist on our board, because it presents another point of view than just our town arborist and putting all the burden on him.
But we had, those, I believe, were landscape architects. They weren't arborists.
No,
No,
Kim
yeah,
Bach
that
was
is
a
true.
ISA member. She was a registered arborist, and she
Yeah, true.
recused herself when we were talking about 3rd Street because she was hired by those people when we were talking about those spruce trees by the unit. So I think another arborist can't have enough information on it, in my opinion.
May I speak?
What?
May I speak?
well, sure.
In all fairness, I will always be the representative, and I am the one that is involved in it. More of to say, when I say that I come with a team of arborists, is that when the day comes when the day comes that you need advice or information, it just know that there is a group of educated people that I come with, that it's more of a strength. It is only saying that the people that I work with are experienced and certified. And I don't think that having any more arborists and people that are educated can hurt. I do understand what you mean in the conflict of interest, but maybe I was misunderstood the way that I phrased it. I come alone. There are other arborists that have been, I believe, on the board that own a company and have arborists that work underneath them, that they have that as well. So they come with resources and backing of information and of peers that are up to date with the science. So as for that perspective, I come as me, but I can see where you're coming from. I'm just here to help.
You're correct about what Joanne said. Kim Bach, who had, what was her, she had the,
Prima Plant
yeah,
Services.
Prima Plant Services. Pardon?
Okay, yep. He was certified.
I would just like to be able to contribute to this
Right.
town and help it however I can. And that I understand you looking for conflicts of interest to be able to preserve and make it all run as smoothly and correctly as possible.
And I think, Sam, I think just to, the big overview, the large perspective here, 30,000-foot view, whatever you want to call it, is that certainly the emerald ash borer is, kind of like in our face. It's something that we didn't even think about. the longer view that we have had with the tree board, and guess you could kind of call it, I don't know, maybe legacy, I suppose, or continuum. I'm not really sure what word you want to use, is really about the landscape, I hate to call it an urban landscape, but anyway.
It's fair.
It is.
It's a planted
is.
landscape. And so it's that landscape in relationship to the people that live in the town, and really the overall expectation that is generated from that landscape. There are components of that expectation that have some historical components, that at this point right now, what we are facing as a tree board, those historical perspectives are problematic. So we have, not only do we have the emerald ash borer as a problem that's just coming, your 21st century problem, but we also have some issues that are stemming from the built environment that includes trees, that the town is starting to understand that there are some challenges with that. With our most recent arborist, Carl, he has been incredibly versed in presenting these as a community concern, and versus
And it is.
that was really just another thing to add on his list of things to do. So I think it's great that you can present not only that perspective of up-to-date training on the emerald ash borer. That's very, very important to us. Absolutely. The big view is the entire town. And
I hear you.
on that. So I just
We
wanted, yeah, go ahead.
we also preserve about 75 or 80 trees in a historical neighborhood. One of the first, it used to be its own town in Indianapolis. So it's surrounded by all these preserved historic homes that can't even be worked on unless you have approval. It's very important that these canopies are preserved. And these 100-year-old ash trees that are native to here in Indianapolis, in Indiana, they're important to this neighborhood. There is a huge importance. So I understand historically, I understand through the town and the people there, it's very important. It's not just something that's just growing like grass over to your left. I understand the importance of it.
I would suggest that you read our town ordinance for trees. We do not, when you say about preserving trees in these old areas with these houses, we do not do that in Carbondale.
I hear
That
you.
is not part of our ordinance. Our Board of Trustees many times has said, no, we are not going to dictate what happens on private property.
But I think having the experience is important.
Well, that's all well and good, but understand, I've been involved with the tree board since 1995. The Board of Trustees is not interested in trees. They're interested in trees on private property, but they are not interested in controlling trees on private property. Okay. It's unlike Aspen. Aspen controls all the trees in their town. Carbondale does not.
Understood.
And so our concentration for the tree board and for our public works department are trees in the public right of way and in parks and other town-owned spaces. So it's nice to have that view, and it's nice for us to try to educate our private property owners on trees on their property, but the town is not going to dictate that. It is just not going to happen.
Can I offer an analogy?
Well, you can talk to the Board of Trustees about that. It's in our ordinance, and that's the way it is.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that. I believe that every company should have a mission statement. Different companies have different mission statements to focus their energy on. Okay, so one tree company to another can have different priorities, just like boards. But nonetheless, it's good to have experienced arborists in both of those tree companies, whether they have different mission statements. So I completely agree with you that I should be up to date with what the town's goals and missions are. And there's no argument of that. And all that I come is to help, and I'm not trying to push in any direction, just to be able to be a tool to be used by the board to help in any way possible.
When we had the meeting that you were at in the beginning of this, July, August, I think it was in July, and there was discussion that there's, I'll call it an ad hoc group of mostly arborists up and down the valley, that most of them are municipal arborists. Are you involved with that group at all?
No, I no.
That's my question.
Not as if,
We'll
yeah.
follow up in a minute, I think.
In the interest of time, I guess we do move to approve this application. Do we need further discussion?
I'll move to approve it. I would like to see the word "we" and "we're" changed. I don't know if you can resubmit it as an attachment to this, but have it approved with that. I would make a motion to vote on the approval of this application.
I agree with Joanne's comments. I move to approve, but I do agree that if you're applying as an individual, you need to speak as an individual on the application.
You a second?
Yes, I second.
Okay, now you got to make the motion.
Motion?
I thought you did.
Yeah, I made the motion. You
second,
seconded
yeah.
it. So now we're going to vote on it.
And the vote?
Aye.
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 Yeah.
Great.
4-0.
So that would go, so that goes to the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, just a point of order. It will go to the Board of Trustees. So if you just want to revise your application, I'll wait to submit that. It won't go to the Board of Trustees until the first
Revision.
meeting in November. So you have a little wiggle room for time.
Thank you.
Number 7.
Thank you.
Wait, hold on a second. No, November's, it will be the second week, it'll be November 14th,
Yeah,
because we're having elections in here on the 7th.
right. So whatever the next.
Okay,
All right, great. Thank you, Sam.
thanks.
Thank you. I take your constructive criticism. Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, the U.S. Forest Service Hawthorn tree review and discuss.
Yes, I went over there. I went over by the Forest Service to see that they had made a list of what they're saving and what they're getting rid of. And so I had a discussion with one of the gentlemen who's at the desk there. We were talking about that hawthorn tree, which doesn't seem to hold a lot of value, but it's probably the best tree on the property. And I would like to see, I've been to all the meetings and they were talking about the building, the Forest Service can hand things off to a municipality, for example. And since we're going to be removing a lot of ash trees, this is a type specimen tree. It's gorgeous. It's an ornamental tree. Maybe over at, first we'd have to go through to make an IGA for that. But if we had a home for it in a protected area, like over at Hattie Thompson, where there's a lot of cover around there, because it's protected over here, it's not subjected to a lot of the elements. I would be very much in favor of seeing that tree kept. It could easily be moved intact, in my opinion, with a 96-inch spade. They were talking about spading out those spruce with a 96-inch spade, and this is a lot smaller tree, but we could take a huge root zone with it. And I'd like to know what everybody thinks. One more tree to just keep around.
I would say that we need to talk to Parks and Rec if they're even interested in it. And then also where's the money gonna come from?
Well, we're looking for money to plant new trees when we remove the ash trees, which we stated we were not addressing that when we were talking about getting the money for the treatment for emerald ash borer on the trees we were looking to keep. And they know it's coming down the pike. It's a 96-inch spade. They must be around here because they were talking about using them to move those spruce trees. And I think that, we could take it, and with all things being equal, we got a whole park over there that's empty to design, and we could put it in there as the Forest Service memorial tree that moves to town of Carbondale, Chacos Park.
Yeah.
How big is it? Like the diameter? Or,
Well, you could
or just
go
the
the
spread?
look at it. It's pretty large,
Pretty
but
big.
it's not a shade tree. It's more of an ornamental tree. It's probably one of the older trees there, and it's slated to be dozed because it's right where they want to put the drive through, pretty damn close to it anyway. So go take a look at it. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. A hawthorn is suited to this area. It's a mature tree. It's worth having the discussion about seeing how we could preserve that one.
Yeah, well, in the roundabout, when they were putting the electric bike station in, I had one of the crab apples there spaded and moved over, and it's been doing good. I mean, it was about a 4 or 5 inch, wasn't super big.
Not this big.
Yeah, and it's doing pretty good. It's it was kind of shocked all summer, but we've been giving good water in the root zone, and feel like it's going to make it. That one I haven't looked at, so my personal opinion, I don't know, but for that one specifically,
Would that be something, I'm wondering if that would be something that the group that spoke to us in our last meeting, I don't kind of not remembering their name, but they had several speakers. Would they be interested in perhaps doing some kind of fundraising to help the town actually move that and collect some of the funds to assist in that?
We have a budget. We could probably go to the Cape Bernard Tree Fund. We could do a variety of things. We have general funds. I think that with all the controversy that has existed about this property on the Forest Service, if we could get something that's an actual functional, really good odds of surviving a move like that, that's on our town tree list, that we've got a nice caliper tree going someplace that could be a pretty nice featured place, nice featured tree. It's worth our efforts to contact Parks and Rec, for example. And then I don't know if you were there in the meeting that they had, I think it was in August, about the buildings. It became very clear, everybody had to make their comments. Forest Service came in and all comments were made to the mayor. But in order for something to change hands, it cannot go to a private entity. It has to be from a government to a government. So from the United States Forest Service Department of Agriculture to the town of Carbondale. And we would be responsible. But what I'm saying is that with all the controversy that's been going on, when you have a tree that's that mature and has thrived in that area, unlike the other ones, that it's really worth our while to consider keeping it in town and putting it in a place like Hattie Thompson or like Chacos Park that could be in a protected area, because that's, I think, what was keeping it looking so good.
What
I
I'm
got a
trying
question.
to,
What's the
what I,
timeline?
what,
What's the timeline on them, on the starting their construction?
They're talking about dozing that building in January. That's their start.
Yeah, I would,
And-
Chacos parks plan isn't finished. The Parks Department actually had us move a tree that we planted over at Thompson House because they didn't like where it was. And we lost a tree over there and somebody removed that tree also. So so I think we're gonna have a tough time meeting the time schedule.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and what I'm wondering about is how do we, as a board, we take on projects that have messaging. We don't generally take on projects that have a time constraint and, the necessity of the degree of resources that this project is going to require. So I'm just kind of look at that as really our ability to take on that large project. Certainly I can see Parks and Rec, they've got a lot of skills in doing that. But I don't know how we as a tree board could actually take that on.
Well, I would say what we should consider is making a recommendation to Carl to contact Parks and Rec and see if there's any place that they want a tree that's available within the next 3 months.
Well, I imagine if we'd want to do it pretty soon, like before the ground freezes.
Right.
I mean, if it was going to happen, I mean,
If we could find a place that we could, I'm not really in favor of spading in and spading out, spading in and spading out again, but if
a
we
temporary
could,
place. Yeah.
how about, I've got one for you, one on Hendricks Drive. Remember when they took out you were here, I think. It was literally tonnage that they had to remove of the cottonwood that was dropping. That would be another perfect place for it. I think it was maybe Catherine or Ivy Court when you're coming north on there, it's on the right side. And it was inside of it was to the east of the ditch. But that would be a perfect place for it, those kind of places. And the argument could be made that there was a tree there before and they mowed around it. So it's basically a replacement that we didn't go in and put anything else in there, I don't believe. A place like that they mow around it is fine. A place like where, I don't think it would be a good place where we had to remove the tree over by the soccer field over there because somebody drove into it and killed the tree. Not a good idea, but it needs to have a lovely place like that. And I think it would be worth our while because you're not paying for the tree, you're just paying for it to be moved in. It's a very mature tree.
I just want to make sure, Joanne, when you say pay for it, you're thinking of using the funds that are allocated to the tree board in some, either, I don't know if in part or in whole, to cover the costs of moving the tree. Is that what you're thinking?
I am not saying whose budget it comes from, but I think we have enough money to, if you went and asked what the value of that tree was, you can move it for less than what the value of the tree is. And so if you're not paying for the tree, I think it's worth pursuing. We are removing how many trees? And we're betting on treatment, that the treatment we're going to have is going to save those trees. We haven't even begun to discuss how much it's going to cost to replace a tree. And we're going to put in whips, or we're going to put in containers to get them started to create a correct budget. When we can save this, when there's so much controversy about everybody talking about the trees that are going away, if we can get one tree to get a good home, I think it's really worth pursuing.
Okay, so I think what you're presenting is what we would call the goodwill that we could create because we're in the midst of a situation that for a lot of people feels very, distressful, as we have seen earlier this evening. And so this particular action could be viewed in a economic sense of generating goodwill and as a way to buffer against the cost. Like essentially we would incur the cost because we want to have the goodwill of the people. Is that kind of where we're headed with this discussion?
That's a safe assumption, yes.
Okay.
I think it's from two different perspectives. It's important. Just ethically, we can preserve it, and then also monetarily. So it's not necessarily one or the other. Just the amount to grind out the stump. I mean, judging on the
But
size of it.
That's
not
we
our
don't,
cost.
that's not our
That's
cost.
not our cost. That
Yeah.
would be the Forest Service.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is,
You just direct Carl to.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think we need to get Carl, we need to stop this discussion.
Yeah.
Get Carl to coordinate with the Director of Public Works and with the Parks Department if there is a place to place this tree in the town of Carbondale.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea, Joanne. I think it's really forward looking and but I don't know, there's some logistics involved in it that I think are out of our control, and Carl will need to take care of some of that.
If you're looking for some different angles for any tree that you have removed or going to remove this over the ash thing, I think those would all be good options to pursue. I'm not asking for a new place necessarily. We've removed an awful lot of trees. I just know that the one parameter I would look at is that it's got some protection on it. I wouldn't put it in the most windswept place that there is. Another good place to consider, if we've got right of way where we have lines above it, it's not going to get that tall. So it's got some really good attributes to face a lot of constraint.
Yeah, I'll just say a few things. I think the first thing to do, I can bring it to the Parks and Rec, bring it up to Kevin and see if there's any interest. And then we need to do an assessment to see if it could be transplanted, because sometimes transplanting big trees, it's not always good for them. They don't always stay alive. So I think just getting a good assessment ahead of time would be important. And then if we go through with it, also just knowing that it may not survive, because I've seen situations, where big trees, it doesn't work, not to say that it wouldn't, but I'm just saying we would really want to look into it, because it's probably it would be pretty expensive. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not worth it, but just throwing some.
Yeah.
I've spaded out an awful lot larger trees than that. It's an ornamental tree. It is not a shade tree, so you don't have that constraint. And they were talking about spading out those spruce trees and Doug fir in front of that Forest Service with a 96-inch spade. And that's a
think-
rather large ball.
Right.
And
think,
I think if you could do that, that it would
mean,
be a wonderful
it's-
thing.
well,
So go take
yeah.
a look at it, please. And
Okay,
think,
proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna take one last comment from Sam on this. Let's make it brief and then we'll move on to the next one.
Two important factors is the age and vigor. So just like humans, young humans heal from surgery a lot better than older. So the vigor, health, and environment that it is right now is what should be the factors taken into account, not just the size of the spade or the tree.
Okay,
That's-
so we're putting into Carl's hands to move forward with
Yep.
the Hawthorn tree.
Yep.
Go take a look at it tomorrow. Tell me what you
I think it's worthwhile. It's
Yeah.
just, the time's really short. And that's where we're gonna run in, where we're gonna do. But anyway,
We'll move on to the Emerald Ash Borer messaging plan.
Okay, just to throw in the mix, I kind of came up with a few ideas just to get us going. I know we had talked about door hangers. So that's what this is. You didn't get one. And sorry, guys on Zoom, I didn't get it in the agenda beforehand.
okay.
But, just some of my thinking is we should think about delegating some of this, like say, okay, is a tree board want to work on handouts or door hanger? We work together on messaging but would you guys like take that over? And then myself and town staff, we could work on beefing up the website and things like that. But those are some thoughts I had just to get us going.
I'll volunteer. I will literally donate door hangers to the town. Okay. I can get the artwork done. And Carl and I could work on the wording. So I'll be happy to do that.
That would help me a lot. Yeah. If tree board took on that kind of part of it.
And I'm happy to help distribute the information.
I think one of the things Carl said too, that we need to have some more PSAs on KDNK and in the Sopra Sun. You've done a great job in the Sopra Sun so far with some of that information. We also have, we should, I would think in January or February, have another informational meeting for the public of how we're going to proceed. And that.
Social media.
And social media too. Well, this new thing for the town, that'll allow people to, will that allow it, or is it just for board people?
That's just the meeting website. But we do have a new public information officer.
Right.
So it's Anna. She was the police department
Oh, yeah.
administrative assistant.
Oh, yeah.
She's kind of doing both jobs right now, but
Oh, cool.
she's moving into that role. So she would be the person to touch base with for the town's Facebook site or Instagram or whatever other, any PSAs on the town website. She'll be doing that.
Wondering,
So once we kind of have the information to put on the sheets, we can somehow format it to make it more social media friendly.
Yeah, and that's what I need help. I need a lot of help
QR
with.
code.
That's what I need a lot of help with, is kind of the format,
I
if
can
you
do the
guys are
marketing if you
working,
give me the
yeah,
information.
right. And this is just some information to get us going, some wording. But yeah,
okay,
that was a big
yeah,
thing for me
quick
tonight, is figure out
question.
like, what do you guys
Sorry,
want to do?
guys,
What
I
do I
have
need to do?
Go ahead, Lisa.
Quick question, sorry about that. Kay, I just wanted to understand that the person that you just mentioned, is she specific to social media? Or is she more, kind of a broader perspective about looking at messaging and helping us to target audiences, kind of maybe more of a specialist in some of the public messaging?
I'm not really sure that she's going to have the time to develop a marketing strategy. I
Okay.
think she's really more, if it's an internal town memo or something, I just don't know what the parameters of her job are. She is still working in the police department as well. So, I think as much information that's already formatted would be helpful. I think she's going to be working on some of the master plans, and like the transportation master plan, but I could be wrong. Because
Yeah.
so I would make sure, I wouldn't expect her to take this all on. I guess
Sure.
that's my point.
Yeah, I'm wondering if she is potentially a resource with regards to culturally sensitive messaging and messaging that is appropriate for various age groups. If she has that kind of a perspective that
Works for the police
not
department, so
necessarily
I
to be.
guess-
I suspect if it's kind of like my other experiences, I suspect we provide her with the information
Yeah.
we want presented. She screens it for all the things you just discussed.
Thank you.
And then she posts it where we request. So she'll my understanding is she'd probably be the middleman to ensure
Okay.
we are sensitive to all people. But I think with our powers combined, we can, one, get good information and format it in such to deliver information via these various routes. Yeah.
I
So-
believe she's bilingual, correct?
Yeah.
So one of the things that
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we need to add here is for information in Spanish, maybe it's another QR code
Oh, okay.
in
Yeah, yeah,
Espanol.
For
That's
sure.
great. Yeah.
Yep.
And what was the other one I had on here? If we can bullet point this. So in my hours of driving today or sitting in traffic, I would keep thinking of what kind of tagline song we could have, because I'd really like to get the message out. Take a photo of your tree now. And like this week, the tree, I can't believe how many leaves are still on there. We got one more week with that. So anybody's got any ideas of that for a 1 minute PSA on KDNK?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, we should do some, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, is when the trees leaf out next year, take a picture of your ash tree. And, you know, and follow it through the year.
But right now we could do it too, if we could
Yeah,
only
there's
get it
still
out,
some-
like the song Peg by Steely Dan. I got your picture. I keep it with your letter. I'm gonna hang it on the tag.
So one other thing too is you brought up about the tree replacement. Obviously, the tree replacement's going to be so many trees that we probably got Arbor Day sewed up for the next 10 years. Besides other stuff. So since I have some contact with the Colorado Tree Coalition and I'll also contact Cami at the State Forest Service to see if there's any other funds for replacement trees so that it's not, and because in the past, we used to get, for almost 10 years, we got $2,500 a year from the Colorado Tree Coalition for replacement, for new trees planted in town. The Cabernet Fund, Carl, she feels more comfortable talking to our town arborist. She does not feel comfortable talking to people on a tree board. Just from past experience. I know Kay and I've talked to her, but she really feels more comfortable talking with a town employee. Her fund is for new trees only. And actually her fund, she has suspended her fund now. It's not, there's still money in the fund, but she has stopped any new stuff going on. And one of the things with the replacement trees, we also can work on is that they can be memorial trees or, you know, a tree honoring an organization or a person that can be
Commemorative trees.
commemorative trees. So we can see, you know, maybe I can get a hold of Kay and we can talk.
Yeah, we might be able to renegotiate something. I'm working on this winter, I'll be working out the kind of memorial tree policy and getting it kind of ironed out because it's been problematic. So that's going to change like slightly, which I'll work with you guys on that. But yeah, we might be able to renegotiate.
But
to
I'll
go
be
use those
happy to
funds.
contact the Colorado Tree Coalition and State Forest Service and start working on finding out where there's funds. Where that the town can, grants type stuff that the
So-
town can work with. Yes.
I remember like my first year doing this job, I think Mike got a grant from Excel
Yes.
or Holy Cross.
Yes, we did. We got,
Oh.
yeah, it was quite a bit of money. Yeah.
Well, I know that the feds too have some big grants going out as well related to urban trees.
$300,000.
Yeah, Glenwood got,
Or 600.
Glenwood got a huge amount. Now they're in a
Take the
different,
lights off their tree.
they're in a different phase than we are. They're really building, they're starting to take care of more of their public trees in Glenwood, whereas before they weren't
Right.
taking care of right away trees. So they're in a different place than we are, but I feel like there's going to be more federal funds that we can look into in the future as well.
And I can talk to Cami about that.
Mhm.
I'll be
Yeah, that would
happy
be
to
great.
make those calls. I'm working from home now, so I'm at my house all the time. So
When you're not fishing.
when I'm not fishing or taking pumps out of the ditch or, this, that, the other thing. So
But then
Something
they-
else, okay,
Yeah.
something else just to throw in here.
Yeah.
just for time, we also talked about registered tree care company list. If you turn the page, I'm working on some basic wording for that. And we're not telling people, we just want to make information available, right? Of certified arborists, companies that have certified arborists and companies that have licensed commercial applicators, either both or either one, right? Because I think we could have this for the future too, not just for EAB. So just having a list in general. So I know those are two things we had talked about: certified arborist, licensed commercial applicator to be on this registered tree care company list. And
Excuse me one moment, does an arborist de facto have a pesticide applicators certification? That's separate. Everybody is
separate.
going to do that, has to have a
Yep.
certified applicator.
It's
Okay.
separate, and it's actually,
That's right.
if you read, I put it in here, Colorado Pesticide Applicators Act requires any person or company that applies pesticides for hire to be licensed as a commercial applicator through the Colorado Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
So it's a specific thing, and we just want.
They also have to have a business license through Colorado to do that. So it's a multi-step process. It's not just anybody with that license can run business. So there's multiple steps to it.
Yep. So we just want to, we're just trying to connect people,
But I think that, I would think we're gonna have to run this by the town attorney.
Yes, no, of course, yep.
Yeah.
And then other things just to throw in there that I was thinking about, if you look at different towns, some of them are very strict on what they allow and some of them are more lenient, but we could also consider adding a requirement for bonding and insurance if you're going to be on this list. Something to think about. Also, we could consider that the contractors have some kind of proof that they can apply the treatments correctly. So like, for instance, like ArborJet, which was one of the companies that makes the tree injection systems, they may be able to come out and say, okay, you can get a certificate, you can do the treatment correctly. So there's also additional things we could consider. I don't know that we have to, but just to throw it out there for us to think about. I definitely think the certified arborists and the licensed commercial applicators, definitely, we've all agreed on that. But
I think all of that would be very important for the HOAs, Carl. I think, being an HOA board member, my very small HOA, but, there's a due diligence to make sure that the contractors that we use have the appropriate certifications and credentialing.
Yeah, I agree 100%, but I know it's really tough. I don't know. I think we really need to talk to the town attorney has to really weigh
Yes.
in and
yeah,
on
yeah.
who, it's
Just-
not that we're recommending a company.
No,
or
we're not
a
recommending
group
a
of
specific,
companies.
no.
These are people that are certified and, but I do feel that we would like them to register with our Director of Public Works. I think that should be one of the things, that they are registered with the Director of Public Works so that people are aware that are doing tree work in town, that are aware that the town is looking to make sure that things are done. And we're talking about the public right of way and the parks and this. that,
Right.
and the
Well,
other.
and then, but also for private homeowners.
Also for
to ha-
private too, but
It's, yeah,
we have our hazard tree part of the ordinance that our Director of Public Works can weigh in on, but also, yes, as a part of our education thing is
Yeah.
to make the public aware on their property of what, what they should be looking for.
yeah. And that's like
Okay.
the big part of this is kind of like just having it available.
I'm finished on that one.
But yeah, we'll have to, I agree. We should work with the attorney, make sure we present it in the correct manner.
Well, and I think the trustees would need to, maybe take on the the role of ensuring the safety of the community. You wouldn't want anyone just kind of coming in and spraying anything, right? And so the trustees will have to just look at that from a perspective and then use the attorney to tell them what they have, jurisdiction over in terms of the protecting the health of the community.
Right.
And it also, I mean, it also protects the companies that are trying to do the right thing. you
Right.
know, So but it's a delicate, we got to find that. Yeah. The right way.
Does ArborJet do a certification right now of their own? I've never heard of that one. Just as proof that people are applying correctly.
I think I was at a conference and the ArborJet representative was talking about providing that for us in the valley,
Okay.
that ability, but I don't,
Just ideas.
you might know more than I do about how many other systems there are. in
ArborJet
different-
is the system to
That's-
use.
That's
every
pretty
other
much what I
system-
thought.
They paved the way and nobody has made something that is as effective and
That's pretty much what I thought that everyone uses.
I have another comment on these door hangers. If we could put a little illustration on there about how you notice the tree failing from the top down, that's the first thing you see. If we had a little illustration of the insect and show just how small it is, because we have some big green things and that's not what we're talking about.
True.
And then,
Right.
you know, the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
I-
on this, you're saying the movement of infested ash tree materials is discouraged, or are we going to prohibit
Well,
it?
it's discouraged.
Okay,
We're not going to prohibit it.
okay,
We're going to discourage it.
okay. Strongly discouraged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because we don't
I think
have
also-
anywhere to store, I mean,
Right.
we don't have where to store material if they can't transport it. And
Okay,
as long as if you chip it, you're good. But if it's bigger logs, get it to the 2 landfills.
okay. Store and move.
Oh,
in the
other
off
comment I
season.
was gonna say about door hangers, we'll have to decide how much info we want on there, because part of the thinking is like get a little info to get them kind of thinking and then boom, hit the QR code. And that goes to like the town's website where things can be updated. And so something to think about.
Okay, so
What-
maybe an illustration will be a little more catchy than verbiage because people don't read.
That could be true. Yep.
Or just like
that
a
could be true.
one statement that's kind of drawn along with the illustration. 'Cause
Well,
if it's-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the door hanger is going to be specific to the property.
Yeah,
also I
because
found
That's where the tree is.
yeah.
Everybody's not going to get this door hanger in town. Only the houses with ash trees.
Okay,
And like the one guy that I went and talked to, I had seen him at a board of trustees meeting or a P and Z meeting when he was in that he has one of the biggest ash trees in town. Unfortunately, that's where his garage is going to go and the tree's going to get cut down. So
Start like with
Darn.
your ash tree is at risk.
Yes.
Right, yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of,
But it would be-
be aware, it's a
It's-
be aware
yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
It would be important, Dan, and for that gentleman to know that his debris, it would be important for him to appropriately dispose of that debris, correct?
Right.
Right, so
Because-
that would be information that was provided through the QR code.
Goes on the website.
I mean, it could, it's just
Yeah.
things to think
Yeah.
about. Yeah, like how do
Yeah.
we, how much
Draw
we
When
them
put on
to
there
more
to get
information,
them
yeah,
more, because the website can change and be updated and I can,
yeah.
I've personally had better success when dealing with mailers or door hangers that less information is more. The more information that you give only gives more opportunity for question. So, but the
Well, it's
first
not
the first initial of is your tree showing damage, and now QR code and now it's next step for more information. If you overload too much all at once, it can be
Right.
overwhelming.
well, your neighbors could make you next, so.
Exactly. Sure, sure, sure.
And
For all
if they
of
see
it.
it around them, just an illustration of what it looks like is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, Carl's gonna go in his tree report and talk about some of the
Yeah.
removal stuff and things now. so.
Yeah, with that, I
Oh.
think it's good time to move on to our next topic, which is, thank you for putting this together, by the way, Carl. the town arborist tree report.
Okay, let's see. Most recent EAB things, I notified owner of the building at Winton, Maine, those couple of trees just across from the Forest Service, street trees, they need to remove those. So I spoke with them, so they'll be doing that hopefully soon. Still working on RVR, EAB kind of stuff. I got them a memo of essentially the basic stuff that was in the management plan, just so they can start thinking about budget stuff. And I'm still working on more specific stuff there. I have started removing just a few of the smaller ash not selected for treatment along some of the rec paths, because I've been clearing the rec paths just for snow plowing. So I'm kind of already in the area. So I've removed maybe 2 or 3 smaller ones. I would like to here soon get a very clear list out there to everybody of the ones that I want to treat and remove, and get that out there, because I want to start removing them this winter. But I want to get a list out there somehow so that people can make comments too. I don't want to just start taking them all out and then no one has any, chance. So that's something I want to work on here soon. I'm getting that out. So that's kind of EAB stuff. Yeah, tree work completed. Yeah, lots of rec path clearance stuff for snow plowing to help parks out, a lot of that. Just a few things to note. We've removed a few pinyon pines related to the Ips beetle. They got hit sometime this summer and they just declined very quickly. Ips has been down in Glenwood, and I'm sure it's up in Basalt too. So it's around, but I think these certain trees that hit, they're probably just stressed more. So there's a couple of there's one in a 7-11 bed. On the promenade in front of the mural there, there's one that just died real quick there. And in the promenade park, just kind of here behind the rec center. There was a dead birch next to my office that I took out, and we were looking at it, and it had D-shaped exit holes, and we're like, what is going on here? And we started looking into it, and it had the bronze birch borer, which it's like in the same, genus. It's not emerald ash borer, but it's similar, looking exit hole. So that was kind of wild. Had to take that out. Okay, the big 2 ash on Village Road, the first ones I detected, I have taken those out. They are now cut down. One of them was pretty much dead, and then the second one we took out yesterday was completely dead. So it went from, a third of it was alive in the spring to completely dead. And then last, a year from now, it was about 2/3 alive, right? So it's just really tanked. The bugs have been in there 2 or 3 years. So that to me is more of a reason to get trees out that we're not going to treat as soon as we can, because that tree was not fun to work with. Like they say, it gets really brittle. The wood is brittle. It's very dusty when you chip it. But anyhow, so that was kind of surreal to kind of.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So there's another large ash tree further down from those 2. Is
Yep.
that one on the list too?
Yeah, I'm not going to remove, that one's too big for us to remove. So I'm going to have that contracted. But yes, there is that other one that's tanking as well. And it's just going to start going down. By next spring, it'll probably just be. So that one will.
What about the tree that the HOA treated that's in the public right away?
And that on the Village Road?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it does. I didn't take that one out, but we'll see how it looks next spring. It looks like the canopy, definitely half of it is affected. You can see the small leaves. So we'll just see how it looks next spring. They've already treated it. It's not a risk at the moment, but we're going to know next spring, I imagine, how much of it, we'll see how much of it comes back.
Okay.
So that was kind of wild, just like, okay, it's beginning. And let's see. Okay, I've got bids for a bunch of streets work and some work in the park. So I'm just working on scheduling that before the end of the year. So that's good. It's taken a while to kind of get that stuff going, and all the, everybody's busy. So, okay, fall tree plantings. I don't have any plantings planned. I've been so swamped with stuff. I just didn't get anything planned this year, but I did do two out at Newts Park at the Bull Pasture. I replaced, there was a Mayday tree that was just looking real bad, and also bur oak. So I put in a ponderosa pine and one of the Montrose white spruce that we had from a flower pot. So we'll see how those do.
Oh my gosh.
Out there. So, okay, another big thing happening right now, Main Street trees. So you might have noticed there's some trees that are flagged with orange flagging. So 4 of them are ash trees that are just too small to treat. So I'm going to take those out. And there's 4 lindens in poor health, and also 2 maples that are just in poor health, declining, street trees and greats. I'm working with Anna currently to put out a public notification of that. So possibly tomorrow I'll have a public notification that that's going to happen, so that everyone knows what's going on. And basically, I'm not going to put new trees in until I can inspect the irrigation, really look into it and make sure like what is going on. As you guys probably know better than me, a lot of our trees on there have been just kind of declining for years. I suspect it's related to irrigation, but I'm trying to set someone up for next spring to really start looking into that. And I'm not sure what I'm going to find, but we'll see.
They've been declining for 20.
Yeah, Carl?
Yeah.
It's been 25.
Well, and they're
years.
also trees and grates, but
Lisa, you had a comment?
Yeah, I do. I just, because Carl, just what you said, I had been thinking about this idea, but, just thinking 10, 15 years down the road, what is the vision of our urban landscape? Our landscape is all planted, right? Our native landscape is, low brush, sagebrush, whatever. And it's really interesting to hear you talk about, what we're looking at, tree replacements. We're also getting a lot of comments about, saving trees, which are they're part of a planted landscape. They're not a part of a native landscape. And now, of course, drought. And I think that this kind of visioning can be important, as we are helping people through some of the emotional stress related to a changing landscape. It is a changing landscape because of the environmental factors. And, I think you're touching on this with what you just said.
yeah. And if you think there's a lot of things happening in town, I mean, new Forest Service building, a new pool, that, this area over here by the theater, right? There's a lot of stuff going on at Chacos Park that trees downtown aren't doing well, right? So it's like, we should be looking at these things and how they all connect, how did trees
Right.
connect to all of this? And
Mhm.
I will
Yeah,
say
and-
that a while back, I was really urging that we're looking for something to be a demonstration garden, and to be able to, instead of a tree and a tree and a tree and a tree, to be able to plant a block. And I think it would do really well for the Parks and Rec guys, because they can just cut around it. An example of how they cut around it is the northwest corner where the soccer fields are by Hendricks Drive. That is a planted area that they go around it, and we have a few different things. Has it been neglected? Yes, but it gives those plants a little bit of a cohesiveness that they're not alone. Like the way we have these things planted on the road on Main Street, they're alone. And I remember going for a tree walk a long time ago, for example, in front of the Nugget. We were talking about raising them and making a block and being able to put some ornamentals in there and putting that in there, because cars are king, cars and trucks are king here in town and everywhere. And to be able to give them a protected area that we can have a massed planting, I think is to our advantage in a variety of ways.
I agree with Joanne, and maybe that's an important thing that we can have Anna put in that public notice when you cut down those trees, that the town is investigating the replanting of landscaping and stuff. like
Yep, and
that.
that is in there. Yeah,
Okay.
that I'm gonna be
All right.
looking into, you
Thanks.
know, why are they declining and planning for the future essentially. And yeah, along the same talk, part of hopefully next summer, you know, we can start updating the inventory possibly as a community effort, which could be really fun. But getting that updated data could really give us a lot of things to look at our canopy cover and help us get a management plan for the town, like the whole canopy. And then look, like Lisa saying, look forward. But having that updated inventory is really important, right? You know, so a lot of, yeah.
When they were doing the comprehensive plan and they had the town broken up into blocks like old downtown, new downtown, whatever it was called on the. Yes, maybe we could do that and make it into sections
Oh,
and
for
go
the
that
inventory?
way.
Or
Yeah,
just,
to
or just
create a
future
tree
planting.
inventory
Yeah.
and have a section and maybe be able to finish a section at a time.
Well, you know, I was kind of reading about it and some of the suggestions, they say, well, you could, instead of doing an inventory every like 5 or 10 years, you could, like you're saying, do a certain portion every year. And then it's just rotate, it's always kind of being updated, just portions of it, instead of just like,
That can be
It
very
makes the
overwhelming.
task more manageable instead of the entire town per se
yeah.
with all the changes. And then you could document the changes as they go along.
Yeah, we
annotate
could,
it.
yeah, we could break it into chunks and just like, okay, this is where we're gonna do this. Okay, next time we do that. And then it's just always like,
And with every year taking global like satellite pictures as well, that definitely shows the growth and the growth of the town's canopy and likewise.
I'll talk to,
Yeah.
I'll talk to Cammy too about what we can do about updating because we can do GPS. We can go to a tree and write and do what it is and work with her because it's
well,
there.
yeah, and we have the coach review, which she has really beefed up.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can do a lot more stuff with it now. I mean, you can add individual pictures of trees on it, I think.
Awesome.
If we could
Yeah.
get a little, we may have a lot more interest given our situation now for Arbor Day. And maybe we could make an adjunct Arbor Day of going in and working on an inventory
Yeah.
and making people aware
Yeah,
of
that's true.
what
That's a
parks
good-
are,
that's a good idea.
what right of way is versus private property, how things interact. And you could have a big educational opportunity that way and make it so instead of, let's try to walk around the entire town. We can't even walk around the block. So if we were to be able to do that, we might get a lot more buy-in.
Yeah, and obviously I'll be revisiting more on this subject, but I'm starting to think of, okay, what is the kind of data that I want to get? Right, because if we take this to a group of high school students or something, right? You know, what could they get? Well, diameter, obviously, you know, well, maybe there's a percent of dead in the canopy they could see, you know, just, I'm trying to think
If-
about what could a general, someone doesn't
Carl?
even know anything about trees. You know,
I would love to share with you sometime the assessment forms that we use and all the data that we've found over the years through meeting with other arborists and through trial and error, what has been relevant and what has been helpful and what has been extra data. I would love to just go over that with you and just share what we have found most effective for us.
but okay, wait, no, good stuff. Do I have anything else? I think that's all I have.
All right.
Sweet. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second that.
Can I-
Yay.
Go drive down to Glenwood.
Can I say one more thing?
230 cars I went by.
Oh my God.
Just adjourn, Sam.
Percent of them have more than
Just a
one
second.
person in that car.
Sam wanted.
Just one last thought, and it's just nothing even to discuss, but another thing that I found about maybe about putting door hangers in the fall is that just like you said, in about a week, all the leaves are going to fall off. And if you were to do door hangers between now and the rest of the year, all that is going to come is a lot of questions. Nobody can actually see what's happening with their trees from the untrained eye.
Well,
I-
what it is, probably it'll be January, February, March is when the door hangers would be going out to the people.
Absolutely.
Because that's when Carl is going to be starting his big effort for planning and, but we're just going to be notifying people that there's going to be things going on. One of the difficulties we have too is the public right of way where there's a couple trees that Carl's going to have some hard talks with homeowners where
Well, yeah, and that's why I want to get some information out here soon about which ones, I'm thinking I want to treat and then remove so that we can
We had
go
a,
through that.
guys, just a point of order here. We had a motion
Sure.
to adjourn.
Heard.
so
we're done.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Thank you for hearing me. I apologize.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
We don't-
correct?
Hey, we got